And it appears we're live. It's been a minute since I've done a live. I've been doing my interviews lately on Zoom, which I'm still kind of getting used to, I guess. I like it, but I also don't like it, so, yeah, there's that. I'm still getting used to it, but anywho, enough about that. I'm here today with Casey Hartnett from Terrifier 2, who plays Allie. And once she joins in here, we will get started. But first, before I do any of that, I wanted to share off some of my... I just got these in the mail today, and I'm a comic book nerd to an extent. Silent Night, Deadly Night is one of my favorite Christmas horror films, and recently I just found out that they're making a comic book, so I picked up... I don't know. I might have to swap or flip-flop this camera angle. But I got issue 1. This is, I think... Because there's a cover A. This is a variant. Look at that. Look at that. And then there's the movie cover variant, which, of course, I had to have that as well. Hold on. I got a window glare. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited to order those. I got those from House of Mysterious Secrets, which... I love ordering from them because they send them in these nice big cardboard folders, so you know that they're, and they put a do not bend sign on there so they know not to put it in your mailbox. But yeah, so I got those comic books. That's pretty much it for all the, current grabs. I've been trying to save my money recently, so haven't really been going to the store too often. Let's see here. I don't think I might have to remind... I'm sure she knows how Instagram Live works. Art the Clown's wife asks, how am I? I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for asking. I'm quite awake, actually, for once. Usually I'm pretty tired at this point. I work third shift, and I'm up throughout the day. So, yeah, I'm quite awake, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm not too tired to do this, so yeah, maybe I should have let's see if I can search her to try to bring her on here so she knows that I'm live, but because I don't think she follows me. We'll just wait a couple minutes, and if she doesn't join in the chat here shortly, I'll restart this and we'll go from there. I feel like I have more things to show, but I don't. I guess I don't. I got this nifty Art the Clown Art Krispies box right here for your viewing pleasure. Put that there specifically for this interview. I felt it was fitting. No, there's no cereal in it. There's no cereal in here, unfortunately, but it's still a movie accurate box and a much needed addition to my Terrifier collection. It'll come up in her notifications. Yeah, I tried doing that. Let's see here. Oh, wait, here she is. Let's see if I can get her. Send a request.
Okay. Hello.
Awesome. It worked instantly. Hello.
Hi. Sorry about that. For some reason, I didn't see it.
That's okay. I was like, I'll give it a couple minutes, and if she's not in here, I'll send her a message.
Yeah. Well, hello.
So how's everything going?
Good. Just
Live here.
Yeah, just here working, and we're all good. How are you?
I'm actually quite awake for once. Usually I'm dead tired. I'm dead tired by this time. I work third shift, as I was telling them before. So usually I'm up during the day and I sleep in the evening, and then I have to get up to go to, I got to go to work and stuff like that. So
yeah, totally.
But we got some people in the comments going, "I love Casey. Hi, Allie," stuff like that.
Hello. love you. Okay. Um,
But yeah, so we have some things to talk about today.
yeah.
Uh, a movie just came out recently called Terrifier 2
Mm-hmm.
that has
True.
taken the world by storm. Like,
This is, yeah,
it's
apparently.
it's really, the first one, like, I saw it before it really kind of became the phenomenon it became itself. It was like one of those things that, like, it was almost a word of mouth was
Mm-hmm.
how Terrifier kind of got big. And in a
Right.
way, Terrifier 2 really kind of did the same thing. Like, hey, go see this. It's in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it kind of, but it's really cool how Terrifier 2 kind of brought back that kind of like old school, like theater experience where you were having people pass out and, faint
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And you haven't heard of that happening for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like didn't I think that happened with The Exorcist. I think that's like the big one. And then
Yeah.
there's this French film called Raw by Julia
Ooh.
Ducournau. And that supposedly also viewers of that film puked,
That was a good
or
film.
felt
That was
sick.
really good.
It is a really good film, and it is pretty gross. But
There was
yeah,
one
so
part of it that I was just like, this is.
yeah. Um, yeah, there's a particular part that made me get in the movie Raw. But that's really, it doesn't happen that much. I mean, the fact that that was happening with Terrifier is pretty, I think it's a testament. It made me feel bad first, but I think it's a testament to Damien's special effects work, honestly, because he made it look so
Oh,
real.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He did
Hmm.
he is definitely a genius when it comes to special effect. As I've come to
Yes.
find, and it's cool because I was watching. They had in the theater they had like a special features thing after the movie, and he was talking
Hmm.
about how like he was given so much more extra time to work on it because of COVID.
Right.
In a
Yep.
way, that sucked that it put the movie back, but in a way, it also gave him more time to, put in more work for the film. So it's kind of
Hmm.
a win lose, but more of a win win in a way.
It, I think it was a gift, honestly. It's a blessing in disguise, but I do think it was a gift to have more time with it because we had only filmed one day of like that death scene before COVID, and it felt rushed. It felt sort of, it felt a bit chaotic while we were filming it, and we didn't get through nearly half of it. We didn't even get through a third of it. Um,
Oh wow.
I mean, it took us 5 days to film the actual kill scene, so we hadn't even gotten through um, very much of it before. And then he kind of went back to the drawing board and added something in the beginning. Like the scene was all written out in the script, and he followed that pretty well. We followed it pretty closely, but he added a couple. He was able to add a couple of things, um, like he added the eye slash and like in the beginning. So he started it. He changed the beginning of the scene, and then went into everything else. So it was a gift, honestly, because I think it turned out so well, and it was for to get those effects, the special effects and the prosthetics, so done so well. I think it
Yeah,
was good to have that time.
absolutely. So
Hmm.
let's bounce back to before filming. Let's talk about like how you acquired the role. Let's talk about your
Sure.
audition. Like, so you went in to do the audition and you got the role. So upon reading the reaction to finding out exactly how things were going to go down with your character.
Um, yeah, so I mean, when I auditioned, I didn't know
I had no
about the
idea.
scene, about the kill scene. But I mean, it's Terrifier, so I was aware. Well, I hadn't seen the first movie, but I was aware that it was a slasher movie because I watched the trailer, for the first movie, and uh, yeah. So my audition was a self tape from home first, even before COVID. Self tapes were already a thing.
Oh,
Um, and so I did a self tape from home, and then I went in and did a chemistry read as Allie with Lauren Lavera, who plays Sienna. And so we did like a little friend chemistry read. And then he gave me a cold read of like the trick or treat scene. So I did that day as well. And then after that, he had me do one more self tape from my apartment. And I did a screaming scene, a scene where a character is running away from Art the Clown. And I, just to see where I could go with it. And I did it once, like went, like screamed bloody murder, went like, you know, did the scene. And then my neighbor came and knocked on my door and was like, is everything okay here? I wasn't sure what was going on. I wasn't sure if you were being murdered or like having really weird sex or like what was going on up here. And I was like, no, I'm an actor. It's fine. Everything's fine. It turns out my neighbor was also a comedian. So they were just like, okay.
Oh, okay.
But I appreciated them coming and checking. It's a good neighbor. That is a sign of a very good human, a very good neighbor.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, and then after that, I didn't want to do the scene again because I didn't want to bother my neighbors again. So I just sent Damien that one take, and I was like, here you go. My neighbor was convinced, so hopefully you'll be convinced. And then he called me with the offer, and he told me about the kill scene when he offered me the role, and he was like, just so you know, this is what's going to happen, and he explained it all to me before I read the script. And he only sent me the script up until my scenes. So I had no idea what happened after my scenes, only a slight idea of what had happened. So seeing the movie was fun in that way. But yeah, that's pretty much the process.
It's funny that like your, you know, auditioning was at your house while, you know, doing the whole, the screaming thing and then the neighbor, that's just really, like you said, it's really nice of them that they were concerned, but they're just checking.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
I was like, I guess it was convincing enough. Oh, well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it can convince your neighbor, I mean, it's like,
yeah.
Yeah. So let's dive into, so getting along, like, so you have a lot of scenes with Lauren. You guys are obviously friends on set. Did you like kind of become friends like as you were filming as well? Like I know a lot of the times people develop friendships during, you know, filming.
Yeah, of course. So I mean when we were filming the school scenes, those were my first days on set. Was filming the school scenes with Lauren and Kaylee. And so I really liked establishing that first before even meeting
the big
David.
Scenes.
Yeah. So I liked establishing that friendship first and sort of their, like grounding those characters in the world of the film right away was nice. But yeah, I mean, we all, that day, I don't know, it was like 2 days that we filmed school scenes, I think. But those days were super fun. And I mean, we all got along so well. Like the whole cast and crew got along so well, which is such a gift. Yeah, so it really, and yeah, I mean, from there, it's just, they're amazing. I love them. And I will always consider them friends, from now on. So it's like, it's really a gift when you do have that chemistry and genuine respect and support for your fellow actors. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that's, I did an interview on Tuesday with Elliot Fulham. Nice. And I was talking to him about the like how you guys have kind of become like this giant family, almost like this big Terrifier family, and it's really quite a beautiful thing, honestly, because you hear about people who do films with people and they don't get along, but you see doing film like this, and you guys just you all just seem to click really well, and that's just really good to see, like. And I think that's what's so great about, horror movies, because you kind of have to like one another to an extent in order to do scenes like your scene, for instance. Like you have to have a sense of being comfortable with the person.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think that, everyone is just, also it's like, we're all just, independent, like indie artists, it's like, absolutely. No, like we're not, like no one is like a big star. Like, well, I mean, you know, now maybe, now maybe we've got some big stars out there. But I mean, at the time it was everyone just coming together and working hard on this passion project. And so I think that collaborating, that's why I love indie films so much. Um, and
There's just so
so,
much heart into them.
yeah. So I think just having that environment was nice. So, yeah.
Yeah. So getting to that scene, so how were you like? Because obviously, I'm assuming you read like what would be happening, what to expect. Like, how did you mentally prepare yourself to
Mhm.
film that scene? Well, you yourself said it took 5 days to film, so I mean that's strenuous, work, long, without breaks. I'm assuming it's a lot of work. I'm sure. I'm curious of like what kind of mindset you would have to be in to film that kind of scene.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, for any scene, you do the emotional prep for whatever is appropriate for that scene, of course. And so, I mean, yeah, for that scene, it's just, I mean, emotionally, you're preparing that you're fighting for your life, which is really intense. But um, honestly, I find going into grief harder than going into fear. Um, for some reason, because I mean, it's screaming, it's a lot of screaming, it's a lot of like, because you're also in the moment desperately trying to get away in that moment, so you're not like the as a human, as the character, you can't process exactly what's happening. It's just like you're fighting for your life. So in preparation for that, you just have to, I just prepped that emotional life of genuine fear and running for my life, and that fear of dying, really, which of being killed, which is horrific. But yeah, for some reason, I find tapping into grief takes more out of me. Um, but so yeah, so for this, I mean, screaming a lot takes a lot out of you too.
Oh
But
yeah.
but yeah, it's all like whatever the emotion required is, you sort of have to. And every actor is different. Every actor taps into that in a different way. Some people use their own sense memories, like their own real life things, and some people use imaginary circumstances. So, but whatever that is for you and whatever works for you, you just, when you tap into that emotion and you kind of, you kind of like let it go and you drop it and you just drop into the scene and you let it happen, because the most important thing is to be living in the moment while you're filming, and reacting truthfully throughout each moment. So um, that's why every night of theater is different, and that's why sometimes every take in a film is ultimately different. So that's why it's like sometimes when a director's like, okay, that was great, do the exact same thing, and you're like, I don't know what I just did, but all right, I will try. And so it's basically just making sure that you're tapped into that emotion and getting that out, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's like yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
I was talking like I like David was saying, like he kind of flips a switch in a manner of speaking, like for getting into that character of art. Like it's just a matter of flipping the switch off.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I, yeah. I mean, I go in and out of it. I don't like sit in my emotions
Yeah, because that would
like
just
throughout.
ruin you at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I like to go in and out of it while I'm filming. I can't like be brooding in this like grief or this fear for like hours on end. I have to go in and out of it. But like as long as you've done the emotional work for yourself, you should be able to go in and out of it. And that's, what comes with like any training that you do as an actor, of course. But being able to go in and out of it and just doing it just takes like a couple seconds to be like, okay, this is where we're at, which seems a little crazy and a little
Yeah,
psychotic, but I don't know, that's acting.
so that's the thing. Like that's really good advice for somebody that's not really an actor, though. Like, as I myself, I'm not really an actor. You know, I like to think that someday I could be one, but like the only acting I've really ever done was like haunt acting. So it's
Oh,
like I mean, it's a type of acting, yes, but it's like it's really two big different things, I guess.
mm-hmm.
I mean, being a zombie is one thing, but being a zombie in like a movie, that's like,
Oh,
a little
sure.
different. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Well,
Well, I
maybe.
mean,
I don't know. I've never done
depending on
that.
the zombie
So,
movie, I guess.
yeah.
Well, it's like you
Yeah.
kind of like, in a way, I mean, like, when I was acting at the haunt, like I would kind of try to find a switch, kind of find a medium to where I could think, okay, I'm this character. What would this character do? You know,
Mm-hmm. Right.
like
Right.
in a way, that's kind of like how an actor would be trying to, put themselves in a scene and try to get like to that point. Like, for instance, you're talking about grief,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and that's a
Right.
really, like I said, that's really good. That's really good advice, actually.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I learned. So I'm just sharing what I've learned.
I
And
mean,
what works. Yeah.
and it's funny, like I noticed with like, because have you? I'm assuming you've seen the first Terrifier at this point.
Yes, of
So
course.
that movie, obviously Terrifier. I love Terrifier. Like it's one of my favorite
Mm-hmm.
movies.
It's
But
great. Yeah.
the movie, like all things aside, the movie doesn't really have a plot. Whereas two, I mean, there's a story here,
Mm-hmm.
and there are characters that you become attached to. Like
Right.
you care about. Like even
Mm-hmm.
Allie. Like I cared more about her than I did, her other friend, which I cannot think of her name right now.
Brooke.
Brooke, yes. It's
Yeah.
like she was kind of like, I feel like Allie was kind of the shoulder to cry on in a way. Like she was the
Yeah.
more level-headed, like um
Yeah. I mean, Allie was the more empathetic friend, nurturing friend, and Brooke
yes.
was the party friend, was the fun friend. Not
She's
that
like, let's
Allie
get
can't
out of
be
here.
fun, but right. Yeah, so it's just a different, and I really liked that we had that dynamic between the three of us and that we each brought, I mean, we each brought our own thing to the character. Like I brought that to Allie. Kaylee brilliantly brought that to Brooke, and she does it so seamlessly. And then, of course, what Lauren brought to Sienna. So it made all of the characters so different rather than making the friends all the same and like being,
Yeah.
like clones of each other as friends, but they all had their own personalities and um, their own behavioral patterns and things like that. So we each were
Yeah.
able to bring that to the characters to make them all unique, but to make it make sense that they were friends at the same time. So that I'm really proud of that, and that we were able to see that and do that with these characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys definitely had a really good good connection, like and like you're like the nurturing one, and obviously Brooke was the fun one, but still had her side that she was, tried to be understanding. And then
Yeah.
Sienna's kind of like the middle ground. She's like
Mhm.
the mixture of the two. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like the
I can see
Charlie's
that.
Angels of Terrifier in a
Yeah.
manner of speaking.
For sure.
Now,
Yeah.
what would have been really cool is to see all three of you take art on at the same time.
That would
Like,
be, we would love that. But
but we didn't get that.
no, maybe we'll do like a spin-off where they're all just alive and fighting.
I mean, who knows? I mean, Sienna came back to life
Yeah, I mean that's true.
after, but that's a whole different ball game
That's
right
like,
there.
yeah, her yeah, that part of her story is very, very significant to Sienna, of
Yeah,
course. So,
it's a very, very like
mhm.
interesting because I read upon like originally that's what Damien wanted to do with this
Mhm.
character. He wanted to make this, angel character to the art character, and had
Right.
this. He had originally written the character but like even before he had written like Terrifier, even I believe
Uh-huh.
something like that, something to that effect, and then wanted to eventually incorporate that into a film, and then that's where Sienna came in,
Right.
and that's
Right.
just he has definitely expanded the lore of Terrifier like exponentially, and I'm interested to see where it goes from here because like it could go anywhere at this
Yeah.
point.
I'm curious about that too. I can't wait to see what Damien comes up with.
I was talking to Jonathan. I was talking to Elliot about Jonathan.
Uh-huh.
About I was like, now do you think it was like one of our last questions I was talking to him about? So like at the end of the first Terrifier where Vicky's still alive, but he's like starting to eat her face and stuff. And I
Yeah.
was talking to him about now. If you notice, Jonathan is also in the process of like getting bitten and stuff like that. Do you think something along the lines of Vicky's character happening to Jonathan, where he like becomes this psychotic thing, like
Hmm.
Art? And I'm like, that would be an interesting development for that character to see if something like that would happen to
Yeah.
him, because
Oh, yeah, for sure. That would
like
be really interesting because that would also just make Sienna's journey through the film even more complicated.
yeah.
So that would be pretty horrific for her, honestly.
I mean,
But it would make it more interesting.
after definitely, I mean, losing both friends and her mom in like one movie, it's just like to lose her brother, to not
Yeah,
necessarily lose him yet, but like to basically lose him.
right.
I feel like that would just like set it off even more
Yeah.
like it'd be a uh, I'm interested to see what happens with the whole, like, because obviously that end cut scene where Vicky gives birth to the head of Art, it's just like where are they going to go from here, like what's happening now?
I know. We'll see. We will all find out eventually, but Damien's the only one who knows
He
at this
keeps
point.
everything inside that head of his.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
it's crazy that because he's such a calm, cool, and collective person, like I've talked to him and I'm just like, he just seems such a really like, he's a
Hmm.
really chill individual. But then again, you look at Rob Zombie though, he's
Hmm.
really cool and collective. Of course,
Of
he still
course.
kind of looks like a maniac, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. It is really funny when people ask me about working with Damien and like expecting him to be this like complete like crazy like weirdo like whatever. I'm like, well, he is a weirdo, but a good weirdo. No, I'm kidding. But I but I'm like, no, he's like the sweetest person ever. You would never expect these horrific, gory stories to come from him because he is just such a genuinely kind, caring person. Um, and so it's just really interesting. I think it's fantastic, honestly. He's just a pure artist. And I think that that's really where this comes from because he's just interested in like, he's not interested in, he's not, interested in anything other than creating these realistic looking art, like artistic replications of these this gore and these telling these stories, and that's I think it's funny that people expect someone who as an artist who does that to be creepy,
Yeah,
and it's like no, he's just an artist. Just
there's a
because
difference
he,
between,
yeah,
yeah, there's a
yeah.
separation between art and weird, but you know,
I mean, we're all weird, but
yeah, I mean, you're in a Terrifier film. You got a sense of weirdness to you.
I'm very weird, and I love that. I
It's
don't,
okay. We're all weird.
yeah, of course. I would never want to be boring, but I, but yeah, it's just funny that people associate him with being creepy. Well, they don't associate him with being creepy, but people wonder if he's creepy or if he's like
Yeah,
kind
like
of freaky because he makes these gory things. And it's when people, I mean, like when people learn that he's just a good, genuine, nice person, it's just really funny to like have, yeah. But anyway, um,
oh, it throws me off. He's a really nice guy. How does he think of this stuff?
mhm.
I
Because
could
he's an
maybe see
artistic genius.
I could see David being like, not to say that David's a weirdo because he is a weirdo, but like he seems more menacing than Damien does.
Right. Yeah, he's just
In a
he's
good way though, of course.
well, I mean, he can definitely play it on screen, but in real life he's not at all.
He is a sweetheart and he's a
Yeah.
chatterbox. I've
He
interviewed him
is.
before
He does love to
and
talk.
he loves to talk. Like our interview was literally like almost 2 hours long because we
Oh,
just
really?
couldn't stop. We couldn't stop talking. We were both just like, he was telling me
Yeah.
stories of like him in college and stuff, and I'm like,
Oh,
these are
nice.
stories you don't hear of, like, just and interviews in a magazine. Like, we're sitting here talking person to person, like he's just telling me about all these stories and stuff, and it was
Hmm.
just, we were just cracking up.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah,
And
no,
it's like me,
yeah, he has a lot of good stories.
even like Elliot. We were talking the other day, like before we even really got into Terrifier, we were just
Yeah.
talking about music,
Uh-huh.
like because he and I both have similar music tastes. Like we were talking about, heavy metal and stuff like that. It's just
Hmm.
it's really cool, like doing these things. Like I like doing these not really as an interview, but more of like a hangout, really. Just like, just chatting person to person, like talking about the movie, but then also talking about, other things as well. Like,
Right.
like what current movies are you watching, or,
Yeah.
what stuff like that, which I am curious. Like, have you seen anything new? Like, what have you seen lately?
I have. I recently watched, I think, yeah, the recent movies I've watched so far, I watched After Sun with Paul Mescal.
Hmm.
It's very good. It's like a really sweet father-daughter story. And I wasn't expecting, and the ending was sadder than I was expecting. So that's something to keep in, it like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it made me cry. But I also recently watched Don't Worry, Darling, and
I've heard mixed things.
I actually liked it. I think also because Florence Pugh is obviously amazing, and the other cast members are really great as well. And I know everyone kind of picks on Harry Styles a bit, but I did not mind him in this film. I thought he did what he had to do, and he justified the story. And so he's not primarily known as an actor, of course, but I'm like the movie itself, and I'm like Olivia Wilde is a director that I would love to work with, and after all the controversy, I was like, oh, that sucks. But then I watched the movie, and I was just like, why is everyone just like completely shitting on this movie? Sorry, but like because I was like, I actually enjoyed it. So
I'm gonna have to check it out because, like you said, Florence Pugh's awesome. Like in anything she does.
anything she does is amazing. So I just feel like she brings that to every film, and the supporting cast was really great as well. So I and the story is it's a psychological thriller, you know. So it's there's twists that happen that are interesting and wild, and the emotional life that she brings to it is really great. So really
Yeah.
strong. So yeah, I would recommend it. But yeah, those are some movies I watched recently.
Nice. I've been hearing a lot about. I really don't know like what it's about. I just know it's some type of psychological like thriller.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing a lot of people saying like just like I haven't really been reading comments on it, but you were saying like something about like some controversy behind the film, and I was like, I like I said, I don't know much about any of that.
Yeah, there was just controversy about like the people involved in the film and
Oh,
some
I see.
conflicts between people who worked
Eh,
on it. But like other than that, like I just was like I am still gonna watch it, you know? Like I'm
yeah,
not gonna let that ruin it for me.
it's like when people like a movie will come out and they'll ask, well, how was it? Or like, well, what are the reviews saying? And it's like, who cares? Go watch the movie anyway. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, who cares that, Halloween Ends only got a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm still going to watch it because it's a Halloween
Yeah.
movie.
I also think like you can form your own opinion about if you like the movie or not.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I loved Booksmart by Olivia Wilde, so I was super curious to watch this movie and excited by it when she first announced she was making it in the first place. So I've been looking forward to it for a while, and yeah, I thought she did a good job with it.
Yeah, it's been a really good year all around for movies. Like I want to say specifically horror, but like I feel like there's just been a lot of really good movies that have come out this year.
I agree.
Like
Yep.
from like even the begin like from the start, like there was Scream came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um I'm a big Batman fan, so the Batman came out, and
Yeah,
that was
of
really
course.
really good.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
was
there are a lot of good movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Tar is really
I
good.
need
I
to see that
Tar.
yet. Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
I've heard
Yeah.
so many good things about it. I need to see that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either, so I like am dying to watch it. But that was really good. And there's a South Korean artist called Hong Sang-soo who made In Front of Your Face, and that's
Hmm.
actually a really good movie. It's more of a character study. I love character-driven stories and films, so that that was a really good one. And he so that came out this year as well, and that got a lot of good attention. But yeah, I don't know. So there are like a lot of like really great indie films and foreign films, and then also like the Batman and Scream and like all those movies and
The
Halloween
bigger
and
movies.
yeah. So there, I just feel like it was a good year for movies
It
and a
really
good year
was.
for
Like,
indie films.
yes, like Terrifier 2, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Completely like, the movie was made for what was it?
Terrifier 2. I
Was
mean,
made for like
after the
how
indie,
much money? Like the budget for the film was like 20,000 maybe.
well, no, it was like two hundred and fifty
Two.
thousand.
I'm way
Yeah,
I'm way here.
after
Yeah, it was
the
like 250,000 and made like 12 million.
yeah, about
That's
yeah.
that's like
I know it's
that's
mind blowing.
that's astounding.
Yeah, it really is. I was
Well, it
not
was
expecting
just
that.
so cool that it was originally only supposed to be kind of like a weekend thing with the
Hmm.
theater, and then it was just like one of those things where all these theaters wanted it because it's like, oh crap, like it's doing this well. We need
Yeah,
to show this. Like
I
my,
know.
I was shocked because I live in Indiana, and I
Uh-huh.
have a theater, but it's not really known for showing those types of films, like kind of the lower end spectrum, like indie films like that. And
Right.
it showed it, and I was like, holy crap! Like my theater's showing this. So
Yep, I
it's just
know. It went to it went to smaller towns and smaller cities as well, and that it didn't happen right away. It happened after the film had
no,
been
it
out for a
was a
couple
couple
weeks.
weeks.
Yeah, and I was not expecting that. I mean, I wasn't. I don't know if the producers were, but but like I wasn't even expecting it to go to theaters at all, and so that was a nice surprise.
I
And
was kind of in the same boat. Like I was kind of curious of like I saw the announcement that it was going to be going to theaters. I'm like, no way! Like that's cool.
yeah,
And
it
then
was a nice surprise. Yeah,
like then it just ended up in like all the theaters basically.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Like
I mean,
maybe not all, but
a lot of them. Yeah, it's just pretty wild. And I think I don't know. I'm just like, yeah, it's another indie film that I did, but apparently people are watching this one, so that's cool.
absolutely. I
Um,
mean, it's definitely an accomplishment, even on your end. Like your scene is it's going to become very iconic. It's a very well done scene. Like even on your end, like I said, it's a very well crafted scene.
yeah,
Everything that happens, what you go through in the scene, and how you deliver the sheer amount of terror is just, that's impressive in itself.
yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, it was. I'm really proud of the work that we all did on that scene, and I'm relieved that it turned out as well as it did.
You're just glad it's over. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and also when I do really intense scenes like that, I don't like to do it a lot because it's emotionally draining. Which is why, like, even for theater is different because you're only doing it once a day. You're only doing it once a night, Well,
Yeah,
maybe some days you do it twice. But for film, when you have to do it take after take after take, it can just be so exhausting. Like the most, I think one of the most legendary stories is Shelley Duvall in The Shining and how Kubrick made her
absolutely.
do that scene like 70 times, like 100 times, I don't even know. But and that to me is like, oh my god, that sounds horrible. But I yeah, so I don't like to do too many takes, so I just dive right in. I'm like, if I'm going to give it, I will save it in the rehearsal, not do it entirely full out in the rehearsal, and then dive fully in for the first take and see how it goes, see what we need to adjust, do it as many times as we need to. But like, I feel like for me, if you just dive right in right away and give it your all, then you won't have to do it as many times.
Dude, is it good enough for you this time?
Please, Damien, please, can we stop now?
I'm tired. Do it again.
I no, but yeah, we and also with the effects too, you have to go all in right away because you're gonna get blood everywhere, and it's like with the effects, you need the effects to be just right and very clean, and so you have to really just do it right away.
There was
And
nothing clean about that scene.
well, not clean. I mean, clean as in
I know
like
what you mean.
that's true though. But yeah, so in order to make it, it's actually, yeah. So anyway, you just kind of have to dive right in and just go all
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, you both really kind of just, gave 110% like all around. And well, I just, insult to entry, like I was telling you yesterday, the whole salt and bleach thing, like that just had to like, that just, like I was saying, like it was almost like in the first one where he goes to reload his gun, like she's
Oh,
like
that's
basically
right.
dead already. Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's become this running almost joke in a way, and it's just
Right.
and then I don't know, like it blew my mind because I found out later that when your mother comes in and finds you, that's an animatronic.
Yeah, they made a life cast of me. So, it is a replica of me, but it's like a puppet that we were using. We had like rods under the bed and behind the wall, like moving the head and everything. And that's why like, I didn't actually do that movement
Yeah.
when she wakes up, but yeah, it was in the ending, and then we like CGI'd my eyeball onto the puppet.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, so we did like a take where I was just like with my eyes, and you just like filmed my eyes, and they put like blood around it to match the coloring, and just like CGI'd that onto, and that was the last thing I did. That was the last thing I had to do, was the eye thing. Yeah, it was like it was like
Yeah.
4 a.m. also at that point. That I
Like,
remember that was like our last day filming, and it was like 4 a.m. and he's like, "Okay, just do like we need to film your eye," and we were all like falling asleep, and I'm like, "All right, let me try to like keep my eyes open for this."
let me slap myself awake real quick.
Yeah, but it looked so good, and he did such a good job with it.
As sick and twisted as that whole like image is, like of you sitting there and everything, it is a work of art though. Like it really is, like
Truly.
in its own weird way, it's kind of beautiful. Like that was created by like
Yeah.
one person's like
Yeah.
mind.
Yep.
It's just,
Absolutely. He's just so good at
he
that.
really is. He's I can't wait to talk to him because
Yeah.
in March there's going to be, well, all of you guys are really going to be doing quite a bit of appearances here before too long at conventions. In March at Horror Hound in Cincinnati, I know. I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe you're going to be there, but unless they announce you later, I know you're going to be in Days of the Dead in Indianapolis, which I will be at.
Yeah, oh nice. Yeah, I'll
I'm really
be at
excited
the
for that.
days. I'll be at some of the days ones. I don't know yet if I'll be at any more. I haven't heard anything, so I have
I know there's
nothing.
going to be, I think, so far at Horror Hound, they're going to have Damien, which I can't wait to
Uh-huh.
talk to him again.
Yeah.
David, um, Elliot, and
Mm-hmm.
Lauren, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe Jenna Cannell from the first one.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
kind of like a Terrifier reunion, which is
Yeah.
a little quick story with me and Damien. I used to like when I first watched Terrifier before it really even hit Netflix. Like I literally bought it when it first came out, like on Blu-ray,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched it, and I literally watched the movie for like a week straight. Like not a week straight, but like I watched it every day for like a
Yeah.
week straight. And I wrote Damien on Instagram just telling him how much I like just really appreciated the film, how much I loved it and everything like
Mm-hmm.
that. And we kind of, I mean, we don't really, as as much success as he's had now, we don't really talk now, but back then we were able to talk a little bit here and there. And I
Mm-hmm.
asked him, I said, if I could I send my Blu-ray to you to have you sign it? And he let me do that. Like he let me
Nice.
send it to him, and he signed it. And I and I actually did that with quite a few people from the film. I mean, I wrote David, and he doesn't even do this now. Like, if you send something to him, like, he doesn't do that anymore. Like, apparently,
It's hard. It's hard to do that. Also,
yeah,
it's just it's slight. Yeah, it's like people have asked me as well, and I feel bad because I haven't figured out how to set up like an autograph system yet online. So that's something I want to like work on right now. I think I'm
yeah.
also a little bit like, why do you want my autograph? I don't understand.
But why wouldn't
So
it?
I'm also just like, what? Why? No, but I do really appreciate people like the support of the film, and it's just so mind blowing. So I do want to give back, and I do want to give back to the people who have supported the film so much. And
They
so
got to
that's
go to
something.
conventions.
Yeah, I know, and I feel bad for the people who can't make it to those, but
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out how to do that. It's just complicated because you know you have to figure out where people can send it to, and like a safe place for people to send it to, and things like that. So,
and
um,
postage and everything, and that it just gets expensive, and
right,
especially when you're sending something like a Blu-ray or something, bigger
yeah,
and everything. Everything just gets more and more expensive. Luckily, a Blu-ray is not very big, but
right. It's
still,
probably more
I
doable.
it's like I even offered like on because I sent it to David, I sent it to Samantha Scafidi and Jenna Cannell actually, and on
Nice.
all every time I sent it out, I would write a little letter thanking them for letting
Aw,
me do so, and like
that's
saying,
nice.
and I think let me see, I actually have it right here. Hold on, let me grab it real quick. I think David or Damien, that's the fog. Let me see here. Okay.
Oh, nice. The fog.
Yeah, here's the I
Oh,
got
perfect. That's amazing.
and Damien wrote on here, thanks for believing, and it
Oh,
just like
that's so
I think it was really really cool of him to like write that because I like I said, I told him how much I really like resonated and loved the movie, and like it just something I hadn't ever seen before. Like
yeah,
it's very original in its own manner and everything like that. And it was just really cool that all these people on here allowed me to send it to them, and they
yeah.
signed it for me.
That is really cool. Yeah.
I think I need to have David re-sign this though because I can barely see it. He wrote it in black for one,
Oh
and
God.
and you can almost not even see his signature because it's right here, but it's going into the black.
Oh, I see.
And
Oh
I'm
well.
like, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
I
I mean,
mean,
I can still see
he
it. I
can
know
trace.
it's his.
Yeah, he'll trace over it in like a silver.
Oh yeah, I think Samantha actually wrote me a note back actually.
Oh, that's nice of her.
So that was really cool. She was definitely really sweet. And I saw she's
Yeah.
actually going to be at Indianapolis
Yeah. She'll
for
be.
Days of the Dead.
Yeah,
But
she'll be the booth one too.
I think a lot of you, Damien, David, Amelie,
Mm-hmm.
you,
Kaylee.
Sarah Voigt,
Yeah, Sarah and Kaylee will be there. We'll be
and
at the
Kaylee.
days.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a giant Terrifier reunion at Days of the
I
Dead.
know. It really will be. It'll be really fun.
I'm also really excited because there's going to be a 55th anniversary reunion for Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
So it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, that
I'm
would
gonna
be
have to take a
wild.
lot of I'm gonna have to take a lot of money to that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's see here. What haven't I covered? I was because we talked about the filming of the scenes and
Hmm.
how you came into the film and stuff like that. So out of everything you filmed, what was your favorite thing that you could say that you did while filming Terrifier 2?
Oh, my favorite thing.
Like favorite either scene or favorite not I mean just what was your favorite part about like getting to be in the film?
Oh, um, I mean, my favorite part about getting to be in the film was getting an opportunity to perform. No, but
That's fair.
with like talented people and like knowing that this was going to be a special movie, I think that was something that was really exciting to me. But and then of course doing something like with all those special effects, I'd never done that before, so that was really cool to learn and to learn about how that went down and how people do that
Yeah.
on in films. But yeah, and I mean everyone was so great. I mean, one scene I really liked filming. I mean, all of it was fun. Like I feel like every scene was really fun to film. Like no scene was like, oh, okay, here we go. We
Oh,
have
this
to
is a
just like get
drag.
this done. It was like every scene had its really special moments in each scene. I mean, in the school scene, that's where you establish the friendship, and so that was really fun. And then in the store scenes, you know, running into Art the Clown in the store and like those moments, and then in the store scene, the candy store scene with Sienna, that's where you get to see Allie really kind of being that more empathetic and nurturing friend. So that scene was really special to me, for that reason. And then, of course, the trick or treating scene was so much fun. Um, so, like, it was all just really fun to film. And I think every scene was just, there was something really special about each scene that belonged in that movie. So, yeah, I loved that.
There was definitely a like there was definitely a charm there, like
Mm-hmm.
within, the characters and everything.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was such a, an experience to watch all these characters develop throughout this movie, like, and then, you know, getting to see your character like interact with Art, like having to, like the whole like you're really weird, that, like,
Yeah.
I feel like, to be fair, you gave him candy.
I mean, I did eventually.
I mean,
I threw it at him, but
in a
he
mean way, but he kind of had it coming. Let's
he
be.
also used the take where it bounced off the bag instead of going in the bag, which I thought was really funny that he used the
Yeah,
take where it just completely bounced off of his garbage bag.
it's like, okay, he's done. He's done. He's out of here. And like,
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah.
Like, and let's talk about Brooke's death scene for a second. That could
Mm-hmm.
be. I mean, maybe not as brutal as your scene, but just as
That's
like,
bad though.
it's pretty bad. Like, I mean, at
Oh,
least he didn't eat your heart.
I know. Poor Brooke. Like, there's no coming back from that. There is
No.
like no. I mean,
I mean,
for
there's
any.
not really anything coming back from what you went through either. But I
No,
mean,
there's really
still,
not. She's not going to heal from that ever in her life.
like
Well, her life is over, but
that mallet though, like just taking it to the chest like that.
yeah,
Oh,
that's so brutal. Oh, that like, yeah, that was really brutal. Um,
honestly, I think the one thing that not out of all the brutality that happened in your scene, I think the most like wincing scene that even I was like, ugh, like not like legit, but like was the slicing of the eye.
okay,
Like
yeah,
that just legit was just like, yeah, like all that stuff, all you expect all that, but then that just simple like and then like your
right,
eyes like cut like that. It's just like, oh,
yeah,
like
uh-huh.
it's a
Yeah, that
wincing
first
moment for
moment
sure.
is really shocking, I think. I think that's a good shock moment
It
of
was
like,
definitely like you didn't expect it. Like you're like
yeah,
you can expect some intense brutality, but then like that level of just like right down the eye, and then just like, oh, it's the little things.
exactly.
It's like
Yep.
in Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Like it's very rare that I like like get the heebie-jeebies.
Hmm.
And the scene from Nightmare on Elm Street 3 where Philip gets his like tendons ripped from him and he's like doing this number like a marionette.
Sure.
Like, like I'm like, oh, and you see like his
Yeah,
veins stuff doing this, and I'm like, I can't do veins and stuff like that. Like
that's pretty, yeah, it's pretty nasty. It's pretty hard to
I would,
watch.
I'm good with like when it comes to like scenes like yours, but like when it has to do with like somebody getting like an up close of somebody getting a needle put in their arm, I can't do it.
That's rough. Yeah.
I,
I mean, I hate eyes. Like I like don't touch my eyeball, don't touch my kneecap. Like those are my two like things where I'm like I will cringe. And so I think I told Damien that and he's like, "Okay, we're going to slash your eye." I was like, "Okay."
you're like, what? did I just say?
I was like, oh, okay, great. Love
Then we're
that.
gonna tear your both of your arms off and basically,
Yeah.
cut off all your limbs. And then we're
Yeah.
gonna scalp you.
I know. And then it was like the scalping and then slashing my back and then
And then the
the
ripping
left
like your
arm.
face off basically.
I know. And I forgot that we did that. I had zero recollection that we had done like ripping the face off. I think because I was right after the bleach and the salt. So I was
That was
just
like
like,
the
by that point,
final part
just,
of that scene, I believe, was just like the final.
yeah.
And
And
it was just like,
yeah. I completely forgot about that. So when I watched it, I was like, you ripped my face off?
I don't remember this.
I don't remember it. And I think it's because I was screaming bloody murder after the bleach and salt and just don't remember it.
Yeah. So what was your initial reaction when you finally got to see it on screen?
Well, I was cringing and I was about this low in my seat. The first time I saw it. The second time I saw it, I got really upset and it made me want to cry because of how horrific it was. And I was like, oh my God, that's happening to me. I was
I
like,
mean, I
what the
shot
heck?
this and everything, but
Yeah, like I remember, obviously, I'm like, I know it's fake, but like, oh my God, like it's so effective. The scene is so effective that it made me feel like I wanted to cry for Allie, well, and also for myself. But, but like, so that was like a really bizarre, like a really interesting moment, and I got kind of really emotional the second time I watched
I
it. The
mean,
first time, I think the first time I watched it, I wasn't like looking as much, and I was just cringing more so. I was like, oh my God. And the second time I really watched it and it made me really emotional.
and that's how like Damien really did his job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if he's making somebody who's in the film wince and like,
Yeah,
it's he did a good job with it.
it's hard to watch that happen to yourself though.
I could imagine.
It's like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that is happening to me, even though it's not
You're like, oh,
real, but it's also like the fact that it looks so real and like
yeah,
the editing,
absolutely.
the special effects and everything all together makes it look so wild and realistic. And I think that's why it's been having the response that it has, the reaction that it has had is
Because it is
where it has
it's very it's a very shocking film, nonetheless, like, to say the
right,
least.
right, of course,
I could
yeah,
just I could just imagine you watching it, like every time something happens, like being ripped off, you're just like, oh, like
yep, it was,
looking at your arms and like everything, like, oh.
yeah. So
That's how I
it
would
was hard to
be.
watch, but
It is what it is. I mean, I mean, what can we say? It is art.
exactly, in many ways.
In very many ways.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you. So obviously, this is not your first film, and you've done films in the past. So
Hmm.
was this one of your very first horror films, or have you done a horror films before?
I think I did like a short horror film in college, but it was nowhere near as graphic as this. And I had done thrillers recently. I've been in a couple of thriller movies recently. But before that, I was doing dramedies and comedy. Really, yeah. So I always thought that I would be like a dramedy, like an indie dramedy actor,
I could
like
see it.
subtle, like naturalist, like just like character-driven films, and just like those classic indie films. And then when I started booking thrillers, I think, and like more heavily emotional things. I mean, not that indies can't be heavily emotional, but
Yeah, true.
emotional,
In their own way.
emotional in the fact of like screaming and craziness happening. So
Yeah.
like I think once I started booking those, that was interesting to me. But yeah, this is really my first real horror film. Yeah.
So would you do it again?
I would do horror films again. I think I want to try like other like subgenres of horror too. I would love to do. I love spirits and like paranormal stuff.
Parent stuff.
Even in real life, I just like am fascinated by like the spiritual world. And I would love to do something like that. I'd love to do psychological thrillers. I would love to do some psychological horror. of some sort. But I would definitely do horror again. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah,
psychological is definitely up there. Like those are the movies that really kind of mess with you. You know, it's like
right.
slashers are one thing; they're just fun to watch. But like,
Yeah.
psychological and paranormal, that's a whole different ball game.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah, but it's
Casey for the Conjuring franchise.
why not? You know, I wouldn't mind. But yeah, so I don't know. I would definitely do, toy with the horror genre again. But of course, as an actor, you want to do as much as possible and
As much as you can.
stretch your muscles as much as possible. So, yeah, I'd be curious to see what I do, what happens. I
What
am going to be
happens next?
playing. I am going to be playing a character that is very different from anything I've done. I think early next year we'll probably film it, so that will be interesting.
That's cool. I was actually that was gonna be like my next question. I was gonna ask like, what's
Hmm.
on your, calendar
Yeah,
next for filming, whether it be a horror film or, you
right.
know,
Yeah, so it's I mean, I'm writing some things right now. Those are more in like the drama category, but I'm also working on getting a film produced with a friend who's a filmmaker. And it's kind of a revenge thriller, but it's also a
okay.
slasher. So it's a slasher, but it's a revenge slasher thriller type of a
Couple of
thing.
subgenres
Um,
in there.
yeah, so we're trying to get that produced right now. And then I am going to be filming and I'm going to be acting in a film early next year where I'm uh, playing like I'll be sort of it's just different from I don't want to spoil it, but it's different
Yeah.
from anything I've done so far. So I think that will be exciting.
And what manner of speaking?
Just like not like the ingenue character,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Not like the girl next door ingenue character. It's like kind of
Okay.
more of a little bit darker than that.
Okay. So different for you from what Allie was as being
Right. Right.
the kind of
Yeah.
nice girl.
Yeah, exactly. So
Well, that'll be interesting to
that'll
see.
be fun.
I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I'll let y'all know
We'll be
whenever it's done, whenever it's made.
whenever it happens.
Yeah.
Well, I think so. We've been on here, I would say, roughly about an hour, so I don't want to
Yeah.
take up too much of the
Yeah,
rest
I should
of your
probably
time.
head out soon. But
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I think I pretty much have covered basically everything I wanted to. I mean, we've talked a lot. We've covered a
Hmm.
lot of
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah, this has been great. I
I,
appreciate you having me on.
of course, I appreciate you, agreeing to do this. It was great
Yeah,
getting the chance to like pick your brain and
of
you know
course.
talk about the filming and everything. And
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
I really wish you luck and everything else
Thank
you get
you.
to do within the next
Thank you.
year and years to come, because like I said, this really sometimes these movies are establishing movies. Like this, you were in this film, but you might do your next film might be bigger than this film. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. We'll see.
Absolutely.
We'll
Well,
find out. Yeah.
well, Casey, you take care. And
You
like I
too.
said, and I will say it'll be a while yet, but I can't wait to meet you at Days of the Dead in
Yes.
Apples. I think it's July,
June or July. Yeah.
June or July. Yeah, I can't.
Mhm.
It's too far ahead to think right
I
now.
know. It's like way
Yeah.
out there.
Well, again, I want to thank you for joining me, and
Yeah.
you enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too. Thanks so much for having me. All right.
I'm terrible at ending these things.
Okay. Well, all right. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.